Ubisoft, EA, and Square Enix want you to believe that NFTs are the future of gaming. Are they right? Well, keep watching and you might just find out. In this video, I'm going to break down what the impact NFTs will have and see what they'll do to our beloved industry. Let's begin. Now, before we get to it, I want to start by dispelling the idea that NFTs are just a receipt to a piece of art that you don't own. While yes, this is the current meme and mainstream idea of what an NFT is, it doesn't apply to gaming. If you're one of those people who have laughed at NFTs and thought that they meant nothing to you, hate to break this to you, but NFTs have the potential to be far more than yarn cats, idiotic looking monkeys, or JPEGs. Now, I am decidedly against NFTs. I do not like them and I do not want them in my games. When I first started researching for this video, I had no idea what an NFT was or what an NFT could do. I wanted to learn the positives that they could provide, I wanted to see the other side of them, and educate myself and gain a better, more grounded, and evolved opinion. And I failed. I have spent a ridiculous amount of hours trying to find the positives that an NFT can bring, and while there is some good, the vast majority of it is bad. Do understand that while my rhetoric will be quite negative, I tried very hard to turn it positive. I just couldn't. Now, with that out of the way, what is an NFT? An NFT is a non-fungible token. Now, for those confused at what that means like I initially was, if you replace the words fungible and token with replaceable and item, you get a better explanation. Now, imagine that the item is just a piece of code that can't be replicated and bam, non-fungible token. Each token comes with what is called a smart contract attached to it. This basically functions as a set of rules for the NFT, and this is where the real meat of the technology comes from. A smart contract can be as simple as if this then that, but it can do oh so much more. In gaming terms, smart contracts can be used to verify transactions between players, they can determine the stats of an item and how those stats improve, they can record and keep the history of an entire item, save, or even game, and they can even manage to verify and run an entire in-game economy with no oversight needed. Now, the technology is still very new, but as I said, has a lot of potential uses. Star Atlas, for example, a supposed blockchain-based, metaverse, grand strategy, space-based, exploration, mining, MMORPG, damn that's a fucking mouthful, plans to use NFTs and smart contracts to quite literally run their entire game. From the items players have to the currency they collect, everything will be or will be based around NFTs. As can be seen on screen, Star Atlas plans to use smart contracts to decentralize and literally run their entire economy. Like it says here, players will engage with DeFi instruments, i.e. smart contracts, throughout the financial epicenters of the game. Examples listed on this document mention that players will be able to lend or borrow currency, contribute to a pool of currency that users can sell items automatically to, vote and hold power based on how much currency they hold, and lend items to other players with a contract dictating that a certain percentage of revenue earned from those lended items is given to the original owner of the lended item. Now, if you're anything like me, after learning all that, you have a couple of questions, namely, how, why, and how does it differ from anything that games currently can do? As far as I was aware, games can already track their economies, and trades and stuff between players is already made safe. Now, I'm going to answer all three of those questions. How is coming up soon, the why will be made clear as we talk about it, and the how this is different to modern games will also be made clear just naturally. But first, let's start with how, and it involves one word. Blockchain. A blockchain is a constantly growing decentralized database that keeps a permanent record of all the transactions that have taken place on it in a secure, chronological, and immutable way. The database is not stored on one server, but is shared amongst every computer contributing to the database or network. If someone wants to edit, delete, or hack the blockchain, they would need to control 50% of the computing power of the chain to do so, effectively making it impossible to hack. Because of this, transactions, contracts, and every other bit of information on the blockchain can be made safely and securely, and since there is no one server for the blockchain, you can theoretically host a game on the blockchain and it will never crash, go down, and is nigh impossible to DDoS. Got it? Excellent. Jumping in really quickly here. If anyone is confused about any concept that I might have glossed over in this, everything here is very, very complicated after all. Please let me know in the comments. I'm always trying to improve my storytelling, my explaining, and my education abilities, so I love the opportunity to chat. And also, I just like to talk about things and I want people to learn. Anyway, back to the video. As for what blockchain means for gaming, blockchain technology theoretically allows for a few separate things. 1. The secure trading of in-game assets between players. 2. The projection of real-world value onto in-game items via a cryptocurrency attached to the blockchain and subsequent NFTs. 3. Allowing players to own and store their own in-game items outside of the actual game inside their crypto wallet. 4. Allows for games to be added to with user-generated content. And 5. Allows for assets to be traded as NFTs with a value set by the player selling the NFT itself. Please trust me when I say that that was the easiest way to explain blockchain and how it can help gaming. I hear you when you say that user-generated content is just mods with a fancy name. I understand that trading can already happen in games that have trading. I hear you, I understand you. There is just one word, one thing that drives this entire process. One thing driving the entire industry. Now, before I explain why I believe NFTs are essentially a money-making engine designed to get the rich richer, in the interest of impartiality and fairness, I'm going to talk about the potential good of NFTs, followed by the potential bad. So the first good thing I could find, one that really is hard to argue with, is that NFTs can bring resaleability back to gaming. If a game is minted as an NFT, meaning that having the NFT gives you access to download and play the game, you will be able to resell that game to the highest bidder. This is something that I have sorely missed in gaming. Any Steam user knows how useful this could potentially be. The developers of games also get benefits since a smart contract can determine that 25% of any future sale of an NFT goes directly to the developer of the NFT. Pretty cool feature, I think. Developers deserve to get the resale price, I think anyway, feel free to disagree with me, and a player can then resell a game or any items associated with that game that they no longer want or need. I will also point out that while I haven't seen it explicitly mentioned, but I believe that NFTs could serve as a sort of DRM. Having the NFT could determine that you can play the game and without an NFT you can't. I can't see a way that people could get around this in future if NFTs directly control access to a game. Oh fuck, I just gave Bobby Kotick an idea, didn't I?
Write that down, write that down!
The second relatively cool thing about NFTs is that they have the potential to truly expand how in-game items work. Each item can have a unique signature to it, and just about any statistic or bit of information that is associated with that NFT item is very easy to track. Now, the applications here are twofold. First of all, it can make some items, for example a bronze sword, unique based on who has previously owned it. The fact that some famous person or player previously owned a sword could give it value. The fact that it was involved in the first kill of the biggest baddest boss in any game can give it value. It can make it a unique collectible, which I do find cool. Judge for yourself how useful this is, but people like collectibles. No one can argue that fact. They could evolve as they got used. Imagine a sword that gained or lost stats based on what it did in the game. Kill 1,000,000 demons, bam, you've got yourself a demon slayer. Drop it in a lake for over a year, bada bing bada boom, you've got yourself Excalibur. This doesn't just apply to items either. Your character themselves can change dynamically as you play the game. A save file might give you more powerful demons since they are so scared of you. The options here specifically are very cool and potentially limitless. I will note that I don't know how a blockchain makes this possible over a regular game. I really wasn't able to figure it out. The consensus seems to be among developers though that blockchain just simply makes this process easier to perform. The third good feature is that due to the nature of blockchains and how they are decentralized, games can partially be removed from developer control. This makes the process of adding things like mods, assets, and even entire new games to an existing gaming metaverse much easier. Now that is it for the list of good things, and I will admit that coming up there are things that may sound good, but just remember that anyone can spin anything to sound good in the right context. I could say microtransactions allow you to purchase things that the developers have laboriously made for you in their own spare time, but that really isn't the case now, is it? If you think something that coming up sounds good, just remember that it will come with an almighty caveat. First up in the naughty corner is the in-game asset ownership and trading. Arguably the most touted and screamed out feature by NFT bros everywhere. Anyone shilling in-game items talks about owning your in-game items like it's the biggest thing since sliced fucking bread. You'll be able to sell your items for money, they say. You can take items out of the game and put it into your crypto wallet for use in other games, they will tweet vigorously to the masses. It's all bullshit. First of all, to use an asset in another game, it would need support to function. And sure, this might happen for a handful of games, but the vast majority of developers will have no interest in A, letting their products be used outside of their game, and B, it is not an easy task to render and make assets useful in other games. To suggest items will just be useful in every game on the blockchain is ridiculous. Secondly, the idea of being able to sell your own in-game items comes with severe consequences. First and foremost is that these NFTs will initially be created and sold by developers as microtransactions. Developers will have control over how many NFTs they make, how good they look, when they drop, how they drop, what powers they have, and because of all that, they will have complete initial control over pricing and rarity. In other words, these shitbags will be able to create FOMO at the push of a button and will be able to charge whatever the fuck they want, since people are too stupid, gullible, and greedy to say no.
That artifact was gonna pay for the house!
Wait, how much of our house money did you spend on upgrades?
Well, all of it.
Thirdly, since these NFT assets will have real-world value, they are effectively financial assets, meaning investors, scammers, and all other sorts of individuals desperate to make even a few cents will be drawn to them. Attaching real-world value to in-game items can and will have consequences. A few that my meager high school dropout brain could think of are as follows. Number 1, development of games being even more focused on how much money investors and other shills can make, rather than the actual game and the experience it will give to players. Number 2, people using bots and cheats to farm items and money, which is already a problem in games like old school RuneScape. And 3, people investing in and owning items for games not because of actual interest in the game, but how much money they can make off the people playing it. Now regarding those investors, do you really think that they'll be happy if the price of their assets doesn't go up? Of course they won't. A game that has monetary value tied to its items and currency will constantly need new players to keep the economy growing and keep its investors' pockets lined. This in itself creates issues, since half the playing population will want to be taking the fucking money out of the pockets of the other half, someone will always need to be there giving away the money. The second feature I've slotted into the shitfuckery category is decentralized gaming, and more specifically, decentralized economies. Now I can understand here, more so anywhere else in this sphere, how this seems beneficial. Being able to buy and sell things without banks and governments noticing, a game's economy running itself with limited input from developers, and being able to set up complex systems in games such as lending and borrowing, sounds cool I guess, but it has a few significant problems. The way these games currently work is that to kickstart their economies, they essentially need investment. This comes in the form of early adopters who buy NFTs that have direct advantages such as being rare, more powerful, or earning passive income. They do this despite the game not existing yet in order to get a leg up when the game is actually playable. Imagine pre-ordering, but on fucking steroids. On the other end of this spectrum, people who foolishly wait for a game to be released, what fucking weirdos am I right, will be instantly on the back foot, having to work from a far more disadvantaged starting position. When you read the Star Atlas white paper, and yes, I keep using this game as my reference, it is the best example of what NFT games want to become. I can't help that it's the best example out there. Anyway, when you read the Star Atlas white paper, the game talks about how holding a large amount of the Polis token will give groups of players the rights over taxes, tariffs, and fees in the territory they control. The amount of territory they control is of course linked to the amount of Polis they have. The more Polis, the more territory, and so on. Now, I may be a doomsayer here, but all I can think is that over time, the largest and richest guilds, or as this game calls it, decentralized autonomous corporations, will only get richer and acquire more and more territory and have more and more control over the in-game world. Imagine a game where the richest faction controls the present and future of a game as well as all of its inner workings. Sounds pretty great, hey? This game is so much about money that the name is right there in its guilds, Decentralized Autonomous Corporations. It is literally all about the money. The real-world monetary value of this situation will only serve to inflame this problem. Entire companies may be created with the specific purpose of keeping control over the territory they own. I can imagine people being paid pennies on the dollar to constantly farm and hunt for more and more power and resources. Bots may run rampant, and the only purpose of the game will be to endlessly churn out more cryptocurrencies. I sound like fucking Heimskier, don't I? The third and final awful thing about NFTs is the so-called play to earn model of gaming. And by gods, this is the most insidious of the lot. In a play to earn game, players can be rewarded for playing the game in the form of NFTs and cryptocurrency. Players can then use these rewards to invest more into the game or simply sell their assets to be converted into real world money. Sounds fantastic, right? Earning money playing games? 10-year-old Cameron would have nutted on the spot at the very news of that. Well, I'm sorry to say, but it's a farce. Not only are the games that advertise themselves specifically as play to earn barely deserving of the title of game, but the system of play to earn is rarely so simple. As ACG's Carrick put it, these games are often pay to play to earn, often requiring huge investments before starting to even consider wanting to play. Play to earn game, for example, Axie Infinity, requires that you own 3 Axies before you can play. Now the minimum cost of one Axie is $100 US, meaning someone will need to pay over 500 Australian dollars, my currency, just to begin playing the game, and the rewards are neither guaranteed nor fantastic. Adding further fuel to the fire, these games, like I stated earlier, need a constant influx of players to keep things going, as the only incentive is making money. The moment people get a whiff of not making money, the entire building will come crashing down. In Axie Infinity, there are stories of people who have lifted themselves out of poverty playing the game. Now, anyone who's actually seen or played the game knows that it sucks. It gets its value since new people coming to the game believe they can make money and potentially lift themselves out of that poverty. People make money by lending and selling their Axies to poorer players, not from gameplay. The moment there isn't a constant wave of new people continually being added to the game, the moment the game, like I said earlier, comes crashing down. Don't believe me? It literally says that exact thing on the game's own website. Now let me just quickly show you what this game looks like. Alright, so that is it for the negatives that are associated with NFTs. And I hope that you can all agree with me in saying that those negatives far outweigh the positives, and they are terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I really wanted to come out of making this video with a clearer, more positive outlook on the future of gaming, but from what I can tell, the future of gaming is bleaker than ever. Do we really want a system where your ability to obtain items is determined by how much money you have in your wallet? A system where your ability to get items is even based on how good your auto buy bot is? A system that centralizes gameplay on money making and not user experience? I don't want that system. This has been the Aussie Perspective. I'm signing off. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Cameron out.